When I was growing up, we didn't have money, and my parents, they had to be pretty open about that because we were constantly moving, and so they had to say we, are struggling as a family financially. There are things about that are hard, but in the long run, when other kids bullied me for having fully clothes, I knew why it was happening. If other kids made fun of us, I mean, my brothers got outright beat up because of some shoes that my mother stole for them. The shoes were basically like girl shoes, and they only got the two pairs, so thankfully I didn't have to wear those shoes. Still, they got beaten up, like in elementary school. But we all understood why this stuff was happening to us. We understood why we were hungry. I feel like there's a lot of people who try really hard to not let their kids find out, or even there's certain spouses who try not to let their other spouse find out. I feel it's very important to be honest and to tell the truth and to not lie to other people, especially people you're supposed to love, and to not lie to yourself. And that includes children. And it can be said, well, like, if they're 3 years old, are they too young to understand? Sure, that makes sense. They're a little toddler. But once your kid is old enough to understand, it's important to be real with them because they need to know why what's happening is happening to them. They need to know why other children seem to live in a different way than them, or the really important one, they need to know that it's temporary. And it can even help them feel more secure if they start understanding that they could start saving up some money to buy some things for themselves. It makes them feel better about taking pressure off of the parent who's already anxious just about paying bills, and it also helps the kid feel like, well, I could get money and I could not end up in this situation, and this doesn't have to be forever. It helped us a lot to understand that from a pretty young age. We had odd jobs, like even when we were little kids, like 7, 8 years old. By 12, I was doing babysitting, and my brothers and I, we were mowing lawns, and we did jobs that paid for some of our school clothes, that paid for us to be able to give each other presents on Christmas. Like, we had to earn because there would have been no options for some of the funner things in life, like being able to buy myself notebooks to draw in and to write in, and being able to get books that I really cared about. I really was into books when I was younger, and sometimes I had to get those books at yard sales because I didn't earn as much, but it was still so important as a kid to understand something about money and finances. And my parents were not the best with money and finances, just outright, they were not. Having opportunities to learn and grow, being able to look at what they were doing because they were at least open about it to a certain degree, made it so that I could make choices for myself. They didn't go into complete detail about their budgeting and stuff when I was like 7 and 8. They didn't explain everything, but they did say, here's why we went bankrupt. It was because of these medical bills we couldn't pay. Here's why we're moving again. We can't afford to live here anymore. If you understand why something's happening, even if it's a hard thing to deal with, it makes it less terrifying. There are parents that I have come across who were afraid to tell their kids, oh, they can't have that, or oh, every time they ask me for something and I say no, I feel so guilty, but I don't want them to know why. So I make up other reasons. And I'm like, you're just teaching your kid bad lessons. You're teaching your kid that every teeny tiny thing they do wrong is nitpick, and that's why they can't have that toy. Instead of being real with them and telling them, hey, we can't afford that. You're teaching your kid that unless they do well in their grades, obviously they're not worth anything. And that's why you're delaying stuff. But in actuality, it's because you can't afford that. they are trying to protect their kid from feeling poor, and sometimes they overspend and they basically are starving themselves to death so that their kid can get a nicer pair of shoes. On the one hand, when you love your kids, you'll sacrifice anything for them. That is a admirable quality in a parent. But on the other hand, if you stop eating, you can't keep working and you can't keep paying the bills for that kid to have a roof over their head. I've met before a parent whose kid had no idea they were poor, and the parent worked themselves like to death. They basically were going to the hospital. They were being told that they were probably going to die. And the kid is just like, what? What is happening? And in shock. And the kid had no idea. The kid didn't know they were poor. The kid didn't know that after they went to bed at night, their parent went and worked a second job. The kid had no clue. Thankfully, the parent did not die. They survived the ordeal, but they had to have some hard conversations with their kid, who was just this little preteen, tween, whatever they were. I don't know the exact age, but it was somewhere between like 11 and 13. They had to actually explain to their kid, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't just buy you everything anymore. I have to take better care of myself so that I can live longer to take care of you. I just want people to realize that the truth can be hard. The truth can be painful to face. But the truth also walks along beside you like a war buddy. Lies rip out from under your feet. Delusions set you up for failure and disappointment and heartbreak. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to your kids. Don't lie to your family. Don't lie to your spouse about how the budget is actually going. Don't lie to your spouse about, oh, you got laid off. Be real, because you're just increasing your own anxiety and making it harder for yourself to actually climb up out of that bad situation. You're prolonging how long you're going to be in that bad situation. It can be really destructive for the family. It can be really destructive for your relationship. It is hard sometimes to be vulnerable and to feel like you have bad news. No one wants to feel like a disappointment, but it's temporary if you share the load. If you try to take it all on yourself, you just cut your own longevity down, you ruin your own health, you create fear for yourself, and you jeopardize those relationships. You jeopardize how much people trust you or think that you trust them, and that faith in each other is way more valuable than any amount of money. Be honest.